In less than a month from the time of this recording, we will have Major League Baseball games of consequence on our televisions. Get hyped, folks. But before the Dodgers and Cubs square off in Japan, I'm making my predictions for the major awards in 2025. Here's how I did in 2024. So let's see if I can do one better this season. Starting off with the AL Manager of the Year, my pick is AJ Hinch. This will no doubt be a popular pick in 2025, but you can understand exactly why when you look under the hood. When the Tigers traded Jack Flaherty to the Dodgers before the trade deadline, I'm sure you, just like me, thought that they were firmly focused on winning in 2025 rather than 2024. Of course, you know what happened next. The Tigers went on a run to the ALDS and took the Guardians to 5 games with basically just Tarik Skubal and pitching chaos. And while Andy Ibanez's RBI triple in Houston put the world on notice, the Guardians brought the Motor City Kitties crashing back down to earth. But after adding Gleyber Torres and signing Jack Flaherty, again, the Tigers look like a team with renewed ambitions, and for me, there's no better manager to lead them back to the postseason than AJ Hinch. Say what you will about his role or lack thereof in the sign-stealing scandal in 2017, but Hinch is one of the best managers in baseball. There's so much that goes into managing a big league ball club that we, the general public, don't necessarily understand. With Hinch, the results of those efforts speak for themselves. And now that there's some element of expectation with the Tigers in 2025, nobody is positioned better to guide a hungry and now experienced group of young players, veterans, and everyone in between than AJ Hinch. Next up is my NL Manager of the Year pick, and I'm going with Terry Francona. After stepping away from management following the 2023 season, part of me was sad that Terry Francona wouldn't be managing a big league ball club in 2024. And while last year was a disappointment for the Reds, them hiring Francona is one of the more underrated moves of the offseason for my money. He's been successful in 2 different organizations, nearly winning a championship with the Guardians to add to his 2 titles with Boston. And with a young team led by Elly De La Cruz and Hunter Green, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Reds not only make the postseason, but make a run into October. Elly didn't take the step forward a lot of us thought he would in 2024, but Hunter Green is at least a down-ballot Cy Young candidate, and a few key additions like Gavin Lux and Austin Hayes bring depth to a young team who showed glimpses of promise in 2023. And for me, no other coaching move in the majors will pay bigger dividends than the Reds hiring Terry Francona. Over to the AL Rookie of the Year award, I'm going with Jackson Jobe. The Rookie of the Year awards are the hardest to predict simply because there's no previous data on which to base any of your reasoning. It's all based on talent, scouting reports, and the intangibles. But for me, there's one particularly exciting rookie who should, by all accounts, be one of the favorites to win the award. Jackson Jobe got very limited time in the regular and postseason, and so the data size really is too small to project anything. But with an average fastball velocity of 97.1 and some invaluable experience pitching both down the stretch in the regular season and in the playoffs, I do think Jobe should be able to produce a very solid rookie campaign in a rotation that already features Tarik Skubal, a unanimous Cy Young Award winner, and a World Series champion in Jack Flaherty. Now for the NL Rookie of the Year, I'm going with Dylan Crews. Roki Sasaki is the obvious pick here, but in the spirit of not just going with the favorite to win every single award, I've decided to go in a different direction. Primarily because Sasaki's fastball velocity this past season in Japan was down from previous years, I'm also seeing a lot of potential in Dylan Crews. With a sub 20% strikeout percentage in 2024, Crews wasn't a showstopper in limited action last season, but some of the early signals are good. 93rd percentile in sprint speed, and 3 outs above average in just 31 games. There's a bit to be desired offensively with below average marks in OPS and WRC+, but after his first taste of the big leagues last season, I wouldn't be surprised to see a huge rookie campaign from Crews. Next up is the AL Cy Young, and I'm picking Cole Ragans. I featured Ragans on my 24 players to watch in 2024 video from about this time last year, and he didn't disappoint in the slightest. 32 starts, 186 and a third innings to the tune of a 3.14 ERA, 2.99 FIP, 10.7 Ks per 9, and a 4.9 FWAR. And in 2 starts in the postseason, Ragans gave up 1 singular run while striking out 13 across 10 innings. While Garrett Cole and Tarek Skubal have more than enough reason to be favored over Ragans, I like the trajectory that he's been on over the last season and a half. While there's something left to be desired with his walk rate, chase rate, and average exit velocity against, Ragans posted a 90th percentile whiff rate and 88th percentile strikeout rate in 2024. Cole Ragans' recipe for success is pretty well known at this point. An elite level fastball coupled with devastating breaking stuff that is becoming more and more consistent. By run value, Ragans' fastball was among the top 15 in all of baseball, and his changeup was just outside the top 10. In other words, his best two weapons ranked among the best in baseball at limiting runs in 2024. If there was anyone to pick outside of the favorites, I'd go with Cole Ragans. And now for the NL Cy Young. Folks, I'll be honest with you, I tried my hardest to make a pick that wasn't Paul Skeens, but I really couldn't do so in good conscience. Chris Sale had a remarkable 2024 campaign for the Braves, winning the NL Triple Crown. But entering his age 36 season, Sale can't be expected to produce a follow-up to that level. Outside of Sale, there's a handful of pitchers worthy of some consideration for NL Cy Young. But realistically, there's only one person who should get the attention for this award, at least the vast majority of it. In limited action last season, Skeens showed exactly why he was so highly touted coming out of LSU. Just the fifth rookie ever to start an All-Star game, Skeens made 23 starts last season to the tune of a 1.96 ERA with a whopping 11.5 Ks per nine. Of all pitchers who threw 100+ innings last season, only Garrett Crochet and Blake Snell recorded higher strikeout rates than Skeens. And among the same set of pitchers, only Jose Soriano of the Angels had a higher average fastball velocity. The peripheral metrics for Skeens are also ridiculous. Only Reynaldo Lopez stranded runners at a higher clip than Skeens. Only Blake Snell and Chris Sale had a lower FIP, and nobody had an expected ERA lower than Skeens. Any way you look at it, Skeens is the overwhelming favorite to win NL Cy Young in 2025. You could make a case for pitchers like Snell, Sale, Zach Wheeler, Dylan Cease, Hunter Green, and a handful of others, but Skeens is not only the smart pick, but the likely winner, provided he stays healthy and is able to produce like he's shown he can. Plus, he's reportedly toying with adding a cutter and a sinker to his already ridiculous arsenal of weapons. Talk about an unfair AB. And now time for the MVP awards. In the AL, I'm going with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Now hear me out on this. Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s free agent contract with whoever wants to pay him is going to start with at least a 5, with no less than 8 zeros to follow. I truly believe that this is the year we get the type of Vladdy Jr. season we've been waiting for since his 2021 AL MVP runner-up season. If not for a walking legend in Shohei Ohtani, Vladdy would have won MVP in his age 22 season. What was I doing at 22? Nothing even remotely close to producing an MVP caliber season complete with a .311 average, 1,002 OPS, 166 WRC+, and 6.3 F4. Oh, and 48 bombs with 111 RBIs for good measure. The talent is there, and now in his age 26 season, Vladdy is primed for a huge payday at the end of an MVP season. I could spend a whole video diving into just exactly what went wrong in Toronto over the last few seasons, but that's for another time. The Jays parted with Gurriel Jr. and Gabby Moreno to land Dalton Varsho in a thoroughly lopsided trade in favor of the Diamondbacks. Alek Manoah completely fell apart after a superb 2022 All-Star season. Shohei Ohtani and countless other free agents turned down money from the Blue Jays, and so many other things just didn't go right for Toronto. And in a lot of those cases, fans turned their attention to Vladdy as one of the key reasons for underperformance and dysfunction. In reality, Vladdy was actually pretty damn good in those 3 seasons since 2021. From 2022 to 2024, Vladdy hit .287 with an .849 OPS, a 138 WRC+, and 10.1 F4, along with a 51.5% hard hit rate. Vladdy more than held up his end of the bargain, and when it comes to 2024, he reminded us all just how valuable he can be. Playing in 159 games, Vladdy hit .323 with a 940 OPS, 165 WRC+, and 54.8% hard hit rate. How did those metrics rank across all qualified batters in 2024? Second in batting average, just 9 points behind batting champion Bobby Witt Jr., 6th in OPS, WRC+, and hard hit rate. The home run output hasn't necessarily been there, but you cannot look at those numbers and tell me with a straight face that he is not one of the most valuable players in the league. It's also not like the Blue Jays are a bad team right now. You could say they have a good enough team to make the postseason, and with Vladdy putting up the numbers he has over the last 3 seasons, you'd expect that sort of trend to continue. Yes, missing out on key free agents does hurt, but adding Anthony Santander and Max Scherzer isn't insignificant. So it does look like Vladdy's walk year has all the ingredients to be not just a lucrative, but an award-winning season. Last but not least is our NL MVP, and I'm picking Francisco Lindor. I originally had Bryce Harper as my pick for NL MVP, but I've actually decided to go in a different direction for this one. Shout out to my girlfriend for the suggestion. Partially because I picked Harper to win MVP last season, but also because I think there's finally a case for an underappreciated player to truly become one of the game's biggest names, and have the hardware to show for it. Francisco Lindor has surprisingly been one of the most underrated players in baseball since his debut with Cleveland. Last season, Lindor finished second in MVP voting to the guy who produced the first ever 50-50 season and looks set to add to that ridiculous accomplishment this season while also returning to the mound. Realistically, the NL MVP should be called the Most Valuable Player Not Named Shohei Ohtani award. But since Ohtani will likely win again, barring something historic from someone else or injuries or just a shockingly inconsistent season, I think it's more appropriate to shine some light on Lindor. In 2024, Lindor hit .273 with an .844 OPS, 137 WRC+, and 7.8 fWAR. Only Dansby Swanson was better in outs above average, yet somehow Lindor wasn't even a finalist for Gold Glove in the NL. Goes to show how much that award really means, huh? Lindor was just as good in the postseason, with a fairly similar stat line to his regular season numbers, but he delivered clutch moment after clutch moment as the Mets made a shocking run to the NLCS. And with the Mets spending big this offseason to land Juan Soto, Lindor finally has a superstar to hit behind him, the likes of which he hasn't had since his days in Cleveland. With all due respect to yet another underrated player in Jose Ramirez, he's no Juan Soto, at least at the plate. With that sort of protection behind him and just frankly someone else to carry the load, Lindor has all the tools to post yet another MVP caliber season in 2025. Lindor really is one of those players that you just can't hate, regardless of who you are. Truly one of the most well-rounded players and people that Major League Baseball has to offer. I do think Lindor puts together a huge 2025 season, and who knows, maybe Ohtani is human after all. That's all for now. Let me know what you think of this list and who you believe is going to win the major awards down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed today's video, a like is greatly appreciated, and make sure you subscribe for more. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.